Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, coming to you one last time from Irving, Texas. It's been an absolutely lovely week that I've had here, but I will be in my studio tomorrow. But I did want to give you an update on the latest with the Hamas invasion of Israel and the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force retaliation. It's absolutely massive as we speak. The recurring refrain that I'm hearing more and more is that Biden's weakness is ultimately to blame for this disaster between Israel and Hamas. And they use as examples of that the way Biden has consistently appeased both Iran as well as Hamas. So for example, the latest $6 billion prisoner swap deal, where Iran got $6 billion to give us 5 American prisoners for 5 Iranian prisoners that we had. But I gotta tell you, that's just the tip of the iceberg. That kind of appeasement doesn't even begin to enshrine the sense of weakness that Biden exudes to the rest of the world. If you go back to my original video I made after this first happened, after the invasion, I pointed out that what we're seeing, the backdrop of what we're seeing here, is a normalization process going on between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Now that's gigantic, because if Israel were to normalize, that is reconcile its relationship with Saudi Arabia, that would in effect reconcile the nation of Israel with 85% of the world's Muslim population. That's because 85% of Muslims are Sunni, and the default capital of Sunni Islam is Saudi Arabia, with Mecca there. So Iran simply couldn't allow that to happen. And the reason for that is that Iran sees Israel as simply a U.S. proxy. Israel is just the means by which the U.S. State Department is able to exercise its power and influence in the Middle Eastern region. And so Iran is pushing back against this reconciliation, this normalization deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia. And so I pointed out in our last video that what we're seeing in many respects happening, unfolding right now in that region, is a process known as re-territorialization, whereas the globalist structure of the world that basically centralizes power in the hands of a very few managerial elite, as that breaks up and shatters, more and more populations are reasserting political and economic control in their respective regions. And they're in the process of kicking out any last vestiges of the old globalist order. We've certainly been seeing that in the Sahel region in Africa, where nations like Burkina Faso and Niger, they've been kicking out any remaining French influence in their nation. We were seeing with Afghanistan sort of reclaiming their territory. The Taliban reclaiming their territory in Afghanistan. We're seeing Russia reclaiming its territory, as it were, in Ukraine. We even saw it in with Azerbaijan, so supposedly reclaiming Karabakh region. And of course, China is saber-rattling when it comes to reclaiming Taiwan. What we're seeing in the process of the breakup of globalism is we're seeing regions being reclaimed. You want to write that down. Regions are being reclaimed. That explains a lot of what's happening politically around the world. And so Iran, for right or for wrong, sees itself as basically reclaiming, as a hegemon, reclaiming influence in its own region and pushing out any last vestiges of American power and influence. And so Hamas, which is more or less a proxy for Hezbollah, and Hezbollah is more or less a proxy for Iran, Hamas is doing just that. They are thwarting this normalization, reconciliation between Israel and Saudi Arabia quite well. But the question you have to ask is, why now? Why is this happening now? And that's key. The timing to this is very fascinating, because I think it could be summed up in 2 words: Biden's weakness. Biden's weakness. Now, the whole world has been seeing that weakness on display. We originally saw it, of course, in August, a couple of years back, with the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. But then we saw it now in this year and a half campaign to try to destroy Russia to no avail via their invasion into Ukraine. And what you got to understand with that one is every nation on the planet besides the United States and Britain, every single nation on the planet knows Ukraine is losing, including Ukraine, by the way. Every single nation on the planet knows Ukraine is losing. They don't buy the American-British propaganda that Zelensky's the freedom fighter winning on behalf of the people of Ukraine. They don't buy it at all. They know, actually, ultimately, that Ukraine is going to make the Afghanistan pullout look like a success. This is the single greatest embarrassment NATO could have ever dreamt of experiencing in their worst nightmares. So they're seeing that. Iran is seeing that on the international level, but they're also seeing the polls domestically, at the domestic level. They're seeing that Biden is falling apart politically at home and that Trump is rising. And it looks more and more like Trump is going to win. Now, why is that a concern for Iran? Well, a number of reasons, but one major one is that Trump is a proponent of what's called the one-state solution. The one-state solution for the Israeli-Palestine conflict. Basically, there's two solutions on the table for the conflict. One is called the one-state solution. So what that basically argues is that Israel gets to keep all the land it annexed in 1967 after the Six-Day War as a permanent part of Israel. And therefore, the regions that they took that the Palestinians are in, like the Gaza Strip, that will forever just be, there will be provinces within a single nation known as Israel. So Palestine, as it were, will in effect become like Quebec is to Canada or Catalonia is to Spain. And there will only be one capital, and that one capital is Jerusalem, belonging to Israel and Israel alone forever and ever. That's the one-state solution. The two-state solution is obviously to designate the territories that Israel annexed after 1967 as illegal. They need to go back to the Palestinians, which in effect would mean that Israel right now illegally occupies about a third of its territory, and that they would share the capital, Jerusalem. So you have the one state and the two state. Trump is a big proponent of one state. Biden and Obama before him were big proponents of the two states. So if that's the case, if that's what Trump holds to, for right or for wrong, that's not the issue. That's just what he holds to. If him being a proponent of the one state solution is the case, and if it looks like he is going to literally blow out Biden in a landslide in 2024, then you have to see what the Iranians are seeing. What are they seeing? They are seeing Israel making amends, reconciling, normalizing with 85% of the global Muslim population. All the while, a single state solution becomes permanently institutionalized by number 47. That's what they're seeing. Biden's weakness is evident on both an international context and domestic context. And that has given them the green light to say, we gotta act now. We can't act when Trump is in. Nobody invades anybody when Trump's in power. We can't do that. So we gotta do it now. We've got to act now. And so Biden's weakness, his twofold weakness, international and domestic, actually accounts for precisely why Hamas got the green light from Hezbollah, which is just basically a proxy for Iran. And by the way, they were successful. They did it. Saudi Arabia has already stated that as long as Israelis are shooting Palestinians, there's no possibility for normalization to be institutionalized and formalized. That's done. That's over. So it looks like the geopolitical chess match, though it's no question, it's very volatile at the point, but it looks like when it comes to this geopolitical chess match, Iran actually just scored quite the victory. They were able to thwart precisely the measure that would have brought in inordinate American power and influence within their region. And therefore, again, with this disaster, this crisis fully noted for all of its devastation, therefore, they have successfully reclaimed their region. God bless.
Hey gang, I know what it's like to feel alone out there in these turbulent times, but I broke free. If you too have been looking for a community with like-minded patriots who are serious about resisting globalism, building a parallel economy, and having intelligent and deep fellowship on a regular basis, then you've come to the right place. In my Courageous Patriot Insiders community, we're building a close-knit movement of, by, and for patriots who are breaking free from the outrage and despair cycles of the mainstream media and taking on the fight against globalism. Every week, I deep dive into the content I can't share on big tech and give you the cliff notes on the truth of how patriots just like you are building up their communities, starting patriot businesses, and fighting the woke in both public and private. All with a few history and political lessons from yours truly, of course. If you want to stop feeling alone as a patriot and stand together with this fast-growing community, be sure to click on the link in the description below. Don't wait. Join me and my Patriot Coalition today, and let's get fighting.